everyone. Welcome back to Simple English Talks. I'm so happy you're here with us today.
Hey there. Great to see you all again. We've got a really fun topic for you today. How are you doing, by the way?
Haha, I'm doing great. I was just thinking about something funny that happened to me yesterday. I was ordering coffee and I completely forgot the word for latte, so I just stood there going and for like 10 seconds.
Haha. Oh no, that's actually perfect, because that's exactly what we're talking about today. Those little words like and
Wait, we're teaching people the words I use when I forget things. That's embarrassing.
Well, not exactly. Today we're talking about filler words. And trust me, they're actually really important for sounding natural in English.
That's true. By the end of today's episode, you'll know how to use filler words just like a native speaker. You'll understand when to use them and why they're actually helpful.
And you'll also learn which filler words to avoid, because some of them can make you sound less confident. So there's a balance to find.
Here's a question for you before we dive in. What filler words do you use in your own language? Do you have words like or like? Write your answer in the comments below. We'd love to hear about your language.
Yes, share that with us. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Simple English Talks if you haven't already. It really helps us keep making these episodes for you.
All right, let's jump into it. Where should we start?
Let's start with the basics. What filler words actually are and why we use them. This is going to be fun.
Okay, so filler words are those little sounds and words we add when we're speaking. They don't really add meaning to the sentence, but they do important work in conversation.
Exactly. Think about it this way. When you're speaking your native language, you don't speak in perfect sentences all the time. You pause, you think, you add little words. English speakers do exactly the same thing.
The basic structure is simple. You take your normal sentence and you can add filler words in 3 places. At the beginning, to give yourself time to think. In the middle, when you're searching for a word. Or at the end, when you're softening what you said.
Let me give you some examples of the most common ones. We have and which are just sounds. Then we have actual words like well, so, like, and, basically.
Oh, I use well all the time. Like when someone asks me a question and I need a second to think. Well, that's an interesting question. Well, let me think about that for a moment.
See, that's a perfect example. You're not really saying anything with well. You're just buying yourself time. But it sounds much more natural than standing there in silence.
And is another one I use constantly. I use it when I want to check if the person is following me. So I might say, I was walking to the store and I ran into an old friend.
That's right. Helps you connect with the listener. It's like you're saying, are you still with me? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Here's a personal example from my life. When I'm telling a story and I forget a detail, I don't just stop talking. I say something like, so we went to that restaurant. What's it called? The one on Main Street. That phrase, what's it called, gives me time to remember without breaking the flow.
That's so natural, and everyone does it. Even native speakers who've been speaking English their whole lives. We all need those moments to think.
What about you, listeners? Try this right now. Think of a question someone asked you recently. Now answer it out loud starting with well. Well, that's something I've been thinking about. See how it gives you a moment to organize your thoughts?
That's a great practice. Now let's talk about the negative side. Can you make a filler word negative?
Oh, interesting question. Well, filler words themselves aren't negative or positive, but using them too much can be a problem. If you say after every word, people might think you're not confident.
So it's like salt in cooking. A little bit makes the dish better. Too much ruins it. So how do you know if you're using too many filler words?
A good rule is this. If your filler words are getting in the way of your message, that's too many. But if they're helping you sound natural and giving you tiny pauses to think, that's the right amount.
Can you try something for us? Record yourself talking about your weekend for 1 minute. Then count how many times you use or If it's more than 5 times in a minute, you might want to practice reducing them a little.
But don't worry too much. Even 5 times is fine in casual conversation. The goal isn't 0 filler words. The goal is natural speech.
So to summarize this section, filler words are natural pauses that help you think and connect with your listener. The most basic ones are well, and so. Use them, but don't overuse them.
Now let's build on that foundation. Let's talk about some filler words that actually have different meanings depending on how you use them.
Ooh, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's start with like. This is probably the most common filler word in modern English, especially among younger people.
I have to admit, I use like way too much. But here's the thing about like. It can mean several different things based on context and tone.
Let me break it down. First, like can mean approximately. So I might say, there were like 50 people at the party. That means about 50. Not exactly 50.
Oh, that's a good one. Second, like can introduce a quote or what someone said. So I was talking to my boss, and she was like, "We need this done by Friday." And I was like, "No problem."
That's so common in storytelling. When we use like this way, we're not giving an exact quote. We're giving the general idea of what someone said.
Third, and this is the one people complain about, like can just be a filler with no real meaning. It just gives your brain a tiny pause. So you might say, "It was like the best movie I've ever seen."
Now let's do a quick dialogue to show the difference. I'll be someone telling a story with too many likes, and you tell me if it sounds natural.
Okay, go for it.
So I was, like, walking down the street and, like, this dog came up to me and it was, like, really big and I was, like, scared. And then the owner was like, "Sorry about that."
That's a lot of likes. It sounds like a teenager talking. Some people might think it sounds unprofessional. But honestly, with friends, it would be completely fine.
Exactly. And that's the key point. Filler words change based on the situation. In a job interview, you'll want to reduce your likes and ums. With friends, it doesn't matter at all.
Let's compare formal and informal situations. In a presentation at work, instead of saying like, you can pause silently or use more professional fillers. So instead of, "It was," like, "a great quarter," you'd say, "We had quite a strong quarter."
That's a great tip. And quite and rather are filler words that sound more formal. They soften what you're saying. Instead of "it's expensive," you can say, "It's quite expensive." It feels more polite.
Oh, speaking of softening, I mean is a fantastic filler for that. When you're about to say something that might be a little direct, you can add "I mean" to soften it. I mean, it's not the best restaurant in town.
Let's do a quick practice activity. I'm going to give you a direct statement. You imagine you're in a formal situation and make it softer using a filler word.
Ooh, I love this. Ready?
That dress looks bad.
Well, that dress is quite unusual. Or, I mean, it's not really my style. See how much softer that is?
Perfect. Now listeners, your turn. Take this sentence and make it softer. This food is cold. How would you say it using well, quite, or I mean? Write your version in the comments.
That's such good practice. Here are some specific tips for using these fillers well. First, listen to native speakers and notice where they put their fillers. Second, practice with a timer. See how long you can speak without using Third, replace with more sophisticated fillers like "well," "actually," or "let me think."
Those are excellent tips. I'd also add, try pausing silently instead of using a filler sometimes. A 1-second pause can make you sound thoughtful rather than unsure.
Yes, and please, write down 3 sentences using the filler, like in different ways. 1 for approximate numbers, 1 for quoting someone, and 1 just as a natural pause. Put them in the comments and we'll check them out.
So in this section, we learned that fillers like, I mean quite, and rather have different uses and formality levels. Match your fillers to your situation. Casual with friends, more careful at work.
All right, we've covered two big areas. Now let's go even further and talk about filler words that help you manage conversations. This is where you go from sounding natural to sounding truly fluent.
This is my favorite part, because these fillers aren't just about thinking time, they're about controlling the flow of conversation and being polite.
So let's talk about three really useful ones. Actually, anyway. And to be honest.
Let's start with actually. This is a powerhouse word. You can use it to correct yourself, to correct someone else politely, or to introduce surprising information.
Oh, I use actually for corrections all the time. If I say something wrong, I don't just stop awkwardly. I say, I went to the store on Tuesday. Actually, it was Wednesday. It's so smooth.
And for polite corrections with other people, actually is perfect. If someone says, "You're from Canada, right?" and you're from the US, you can say, "Actually, I'm from the States." It's much nicer than just saying no.
Here's a practical everyday scenario. You're at a restaurant and the waiter brings you the wrong dish. You could say, "Excuse me, I ordered the chicken, actually." See how actually softens it? Without it, you sound more direct.
That's a great example. Now let's talk about anyway. This word is amazing for changing the subject or getting a conversation back on track.
Haha, I use this one when I've been talking too long about something and I realize it. Like, so then my cat did this funny thing and then I bought new shoes and, anyway, what were you saying? It's a lifesaver.
Exactly. Anyway signals that you're done with that topic and ready to move on. It's polite because it shows you're aware you might be taking too much time.
Let me demonstrate with a situation. Imagine you're telling a long story and you notice the other person's eyes glazing over. You can just say, "Anyway, long story short, I got the job." It wraps things up neatly.
And that phrase, long story short, is another great filler expression. It tells the listener you're summarizing, so they don't need all the details.
Now, to be honest is a filler that adds sincerity. When you use it, you're signaling that what comes next is your genuine feeling or opinion.
Be careful with this one though. If you use it too much, people might wonder if you're normally not honest. To be honest, I didn't really like the movie. To be honest, I think we should try a different approach.
That's a good warning. Use it when you're about to say something that might be surprising or a little vulnerable. Not for every sentence.
Here's a tone tip. The way you say these fillers matters a lot. If you say actually really fast and sharp, it can sound annoyed. If you say it slower and softer, it sounds polite.
Let's practice this together. Listeners, say this sentence out loud with me. Actually, I think I'll have tea instead. Try it first like you're annoyed. Now try it like you're being polite and gentle. Hear the difference?
It's amazing how much tone changes everything. The words are the same, but the meaning feels completely different.
Let's do a real-life practice situation. You're in a meeting, and someone is explaining something you already know. You want to politely interrupt. What filler words could you use?
Oh, good one. You could say, "Actually, I'm familiar with that point, so maybe we could move on." Or, "To be honest, I think we're all on the same page here. So anyway, let's talk about the next item."
Perfect. Both of those use fillers to manage the conversation politely. You're not just blurting out, "I know that." You're using fillers to soften the interruption.
I want our listeners to try something. Think of a time you needed to change the subject politely. Maybe someone asked you a question you didn't want to answer. Practice saying, "Anyway, tell me more about your project." Speak it out loud right now.
Yes, out loud practice is so important. Your mouth needs to get used to making these sounds naturally. It's like training a muscle.
So to review this section, we learned that fillers like actually, anyway, and to be honest help you manage conversations. They let you correct, redirect, and add sincerity without being rude.
Okay, now we need to talk about something that happens to everyone who's learning English. Mistakes. And with filler words, there are some really common ones.
Oh, I've made all of these mistakes myself, even as a native speaker. So nobody should feel bad about this. Let's just learn from them.
The first common mistake is using the wrong filler for the wrong situation. For example, using like in a formal presentation. I've heard people say, our quarterly results were, like, really positive. That doesn't sound professional.
Here's the incorrect and correct side by side. Incorrect. The data shows, like, a significant increase. Correct. The data shows a significant increase. Just remove the like entirely. In formal settings, silence is better than the wrong filler.
The second mistake is filler word repetition. Some learners find one filler and use it for everything. I have a friend who says basically, before every sentence, basically, I went to the store. Basically, I bought some milk. Basically, it was closed.
The problem here isn't the word basically. It's that using it too much makes it noticeable and annoying. Better alternative? Vary your fillers. Mix in well, so, actually, or just pause silently. Variety sounds much more natural.
The third mistake is using filler words that don't exist in English. Every language has its own filler sounds. In English, we say and but some languages use different sounds, and learners sometimes bring those into English.
That's such an interesting point. If you use the filler sounds from your native language while speaking English, it can confuse native speakers. We might not recognize it as a thinking sound. Stick with and for English.
Haha, I actually did this once in Spanish. I was trying to speak Spanish but using English filler sounds. My teacher looked at me like I was very strange. So I understand completely.
The fourth mistake is overusing, you know. Some people add it after every few words. It's a great day, you know, and I'm feeling happy, you know, because the sun is out, you know. It makes you sound uncertain.
Instead, use strategically. Place it when you actually want to check if the person is following you, not as an automatic habit. I went to that new park, the one by the river. That's the correct use.
Let's do some quick practice for these mistakes. I'll say a sentence, and you tell me what's wrong. Ready? Basically, I think we should, basically just go home now.
Oh wow, that's basically overusing basically and like at the same time. The fix is simple. I think we should go home now, clean and clear.
Here's another one. I went to the store, and bought some bread, and then I came home,
Way too many you knows. Better version. I went to the store, bought some bread, and then came home. You can even add one if you want, but not four.
Try this one yourself, listeners. What's wrong with this sentence? The meeting was, actually, quite productive. How would you fix it? Write the corrected version in the comments.
And here's the most important thing to remember. Making these mistakes doesn't mean you're bad at English. Native speakers make these same mistakes all the time. The fact that you're learning about them puts you ahead of many native speakers.
Absolutely. Mistakes are just part of the process. Every time you catch yourself using too many fillers, you're improving. Be patient with yourself.
So we've covered 4 common mistakes. Using the wrong filler for the situation, repeating the same filler too much, using non-English filler sounds, and overusing Now you know what to watch out for.
And now it's time to put everything together and do some interactive practice. This is where you really get to test what you've learned.
I'm excited for this. All right, we're going to do a choose the correct sentence activity. I'll give you 2 options, and you pick which one sounds better. Ready?
Let's do it. First situation. You're in a job interview and you need a moment to think about a question. Option 1. Well, that's a good question. Option 2. That's a good question. Which is better?
Definitely option 1. Well, sounds professional and thoughtful. Sounds too casual for an interview. Even though both give you thinking time, well is the right choice here.
Next situation. You're telling a friend about a movie. Option 1. It was, basically about a guy who travels. Option 2. So it's about this guy who travels around the world. Which fits better with friends?
For friends, option 2 feels more natural and relaxed. Option 1 sounds a bit like you're giving a presentation. The like and so make it conversational.
Now your turn, listeners. I'll give you a situation. You're ordering food and the waiter brings the wrong item. Which sounds more polite? Option 1. I didn't order this. Option 2. Actually, I think I ordered the pasta. Choose and then say it out loud.
Great practice. Option 2 is much more polite because actually softens the correction. Now, try varying your tone when you say it. Say it with a smile in your voice. It makes such a difference.
Here's a fun one. You're telling a long story and want to wrap it up. Option 1. So anyway, long story short, I missed the bus. Option 2. So I missed the bus, and then I had to wait, and then it started raining, and anyway, I was late. Which wraps up better?
Option 1 is cleaner. Option 2 uses anyway, but then keeps going. If you say anyway, you should actually start wrapping up. That's the signal you're giving.
One more practice. Create your own sentence using 3 filler words we learned today. Maybe combine well, actually, and Write it in the comments and read it out loud to hear how it sounds.
And here's my challenge for you. For the rest of today, try to notice filler words when you hear English. Watch a YouTube video or a TV show and count how many times they say like, or well. You'll be surprised how often native speakers use them.
That's such good advice. The goal isn't to have 0 filler words. The goal is to have real conversations. Filler words are part of real conversation. They show you're human, you're thinking, and you're connecting with the other person.
Wow, what an episode! Let's do a quick summary of everything we learned today about filler words.
We covered 3 main areas today. First, basic filler words like well, and so. These give you time to think and sound natural in casual conversation.
Second, we talked about filler words with different meanings, like for approximate numbers, quoting, and just pausing, for softening, and quite and rather for more formal situations.
Third, we explored conversation management fillers. Actually for polite corrections, anyway for changing the subject, and to be honest for adding sincerity.
And we also covered the common mistakes to avoid, using the wrong filler for the situation, repeating the same filler too much, and using non-English filler sounds.
I'm so proud of everyone who practiced along with us today. Remember, learning to use filler words naturally takes time. You won't be perfect right away, and that's completely fine.
Every time you practice, you're getting a little bit better. Every conversation is a chance to try out what you learned. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we all learned.
So here's a question to think about. Which filler word from today's episode do you think you use the most in your own language? And which one do you want to start using more in English?
Tell us in the comments. We read every single one, and we love hearing from you. It makes this feel like a real conversation, which is exactly what we want.
If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button. It really helps other English learners find simple English talks. And subscribe if you haven't already. We put out new episodes every week to help you speak English naturally.
Share this episode with a friend who's also learning English. You can practice using filler words together. Actually, that would be really fun. You can have a conversation and count each other's likes and ums.
That's a great idea. Learning is always better with friends. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Keep practicing, stay curious, and be kind to yourself on this learning journey.
You're doing amazing. Every word you learn, every sentence you practice, it all adds up. We believe in you.
See you next time on Simple English Talks. Bye, everyone.